What's going on, you guys? Frost here, and I'm back with another guide. This time we'll be talking about Nocturne Jungle. The following subjects will be mentioned in this guide: champion description, abilities, leveling order, runes, masteries, the item build, and ending off with the jungle routes. If you want to go to a specific subject, you can click on it right now. Champion description. Nocturne is a very high damage jungler with amazing scaling. He excels at clearing his jungle quickly, and once he gets his ultimate, his ganks become really strong and very efficient. Besides all of Nocturne's high damage and clear speed, he also has a built-in spell shield, which makes it a lot more tanky than he might seem. So if you like a high damage farm heavy jungler, Nocturne is definitely the champion for you. Nocturne's abilities. His passive, Umbra Blades. Nocturne's next basic attacks is periodically enhanced, dealing 120% physical damage to his target and surrounding enemies, and healing himself per hit. Basic attacks reduce Umbra Blades' cooldown by 1 second. This passive is really nice for getting that extra damage burst in when you're diving onto an enemy team with your initial auto attack, and it will deal a lot of damage. But the main use is speeding up your jungle clear massively, as this will hit the entire camp with the damage. His first ability, Duskbringer. Nocturne sends out a shadow blade in a line that leaves a dusk trail on its path, dealing physical damage to enemies it passes through and causing enemies hit to also leave dusk trail behind their movement for 5 seconds. While on dusk trail, Nocturne ignores unit collision and gains bonus move speed and attack damage. This is your main damaging skill, and you have to make sure you always land this. You can use this right before you land on a target with your ultimate to ensure a hit, and it also gets the increased AD right off the bat. His second ability, Shroud of Darkness. Passively, this skill gives you extra attack speed. Upon activation, this skill gives you a spell shield for the next 1.5 seconds. When you block an ability with this shield, Nocturne will gain double the amount of bonus attack speed from this skill's passive for 5 seconds. This skill is very straightforward, you just gain extra attack speed and you have a spell shield. His third ability, Unspeakable Horror. Passively, Nocturne gains 335 bonus movement speed when moving towards feared enemies. Upon activation, Nocturne plants Nightmare into the target's mind, dealing magic damage over 2 seconds and forming a tether between him and his target. If the target does not break this tether by moving out of range, they get feared by Nocturne for a short duration. This skill is great to catch people with, because with the damage you deal, you will pretty much kill anyone in the time the target is feared. Also, the skill is very handy in the jungle to reduce the amount of damage you take by simply using it on a big monster in the camp. His fourth ability, Paranoia. Nocturne reduces the sight radius of all enemy champions and removes their shared vision for 4 seconds. While Paranoia is active, Nocturne can activate it again to dash towards the target enemy champion, dealing physical damage. Every point you put into this skill will increase the range of this skill. This skill is used to catch low health targets in the early game and finish off ganks. You can use this to counter gank really effectively because the lower the vision range is from your enemies, it's harder for them to work together then. In the late game you can just use this skill on one of the enemy carries and just blow that target up with all the damage you are packing. Also remember guys, you can use all of your skills while you're dashing towards the target in your ultimate. Leveling these abilities. On level 1 I take my Q for the best initial camp clear, then on level 2 I take my W for the increased attack speed so you're able to clear your camp a lot faster. And on level 3 I take a second point into my Q to gain more AD and the damage from it, so this means a faster clear basically. All you want to do is get a faster clear. And then on level 4 I'll take a point into my E to get this utility from it, as well as a little bit of extra damage. As far as maxing goes, I'll max my Q first since this is your main damage skill. Then I'll max my E second to get a longer duration fear and more damage. And I'll max my W last because it doesn't offer you anything but attack speed when you put points into it. And of course you'll level your R whenever possible. The runes. I go for 9 flat 80 marks, 9 flat armor seals, 9 scaling magic resist glyphs and 3 flat 80 quints. I go for the flat AD in marks and quints to give you the most damage and fastest jungle clear. Then I'll take 9 flat armor seals to survive my jungle in the early game, and I'll take 9 scaling magic resist glyphs to help me get an extra bit of magic resist when scaling into the late game. So you can actually survive the AP damage that comes out later in the game. Now you can also go for 9 scaling cooldown reduction glyphs if you trust yourself you use your spell shield effectively. And if you're able to dodge the skill shots AP casters throw at you. In this case, CDR is better because it will cap your cooldown reduction to 40%. The masteries. I go for 21 in offense and 9 in defense. In offense I make sure to get all the means of increasing my damage, and also I make sure to get the 4 points into my cooldown reduction mastery if you go for the scaling CDR glyphs. And in defense I just take the damage reduction from monsters to help me survive the early game mainly, and some extra health. The item build. On Nocturne I pretty much have one set item build I use, but there's also a more tanky build as well. I'll show you guys both of these builds right now, starting off with my high damage build. You start off by getting yourself a machete, 2 health potions and a warding trinket. After your initial clear, you go back and buy a Stalker's upgrade to your machete to help you stick to people and add a little bit of extra burst when you dive in with your ultimate. And of course a pair of regular boots to get around faster. Now the first item you want to go for is the Devourer. Devourer is simply the best jungle item you can get on Nocturne. You farm very quickly, you stack it quickly, and Nocturne is very auto attack based, so attack speed will help you a lot. After your Devourer you want to start building into a Cutlass, for the added burst from the active, the lifesteal and simply more AD. After getting your Cutlass you want to finish this into a Blade of the Rune King as soon as possible. At this stage you will most likely have your stated Devourer, and this will combine very well with the Blade, to give you an insane amount of damage. Then, after your Blade, you want to finish your boots into a pair of Ninja Tabbies. I get Ninja Tabbies because these boots stop the most incoming damage out of all the boots. Then, after finishing your boots, you want to start building into a Black Cleaver. This item just offers you all the stats you need. It lowers your cooldowns massively, it gives you armor shred, it gives you health, and it also gives you flat AD. After your cleaver you want to build into a Deadman's Blade. I get this item over Randuin's these days because it gives you a lot more health than Randuin's and only 10 less armor after patch 5.16. Plus, this item has a very nice speed boost and added extra damage and a slow when you dive in with your ultimate. After this you want to build yourself a Maw of Marmortius. This item is amazing. You get the magic damage shield as well as more AD the lower your health gets, so your lifesteal will do more. And it also gives you flat MR. Maw is simply the best magic resist item in the game for champions like Nocturne. At this stage you are 6 items, but now you want to start selling your boots for an infinity edge. I do this to give me more damage, and with the Deadman's Blade you don't really need those boots anyway. And to finish this build off in the very late game, I sell my Devourer for a Phantom Dancer. The reason I do this is because the ability to crit a lot more will be much better at this stage in the game, as the damage from your Blade and Devourer kind of falls off really badly. With this build I get myself the blue trinket so I can spot out people from range with my ultimate to catch them off guard and potentially kill them. Now for the build in a tankier fashion. You want to do the same thing as the previous build up until Ninja Tabbies. After this you want to skip getting your cleaver and build straight into a Deadman's Blade. Now right after you have finished this item, you want to get yourself a Banshees to be able to block even more spells and also have a good amount of extra health. And as a final item you want to get yourself a Frozen Heart. The reason for this item is you will still have that 20% cooldown reduction out of your build, but instead of it being from cleaver it will be from this item. And it also offers you very nice passive and a lot of armor, making you insanely tanky. Remember, this variation doesn't really scale that well damage wise, as all of your damage you have in your Devourer and Blade will fall off into the late game. So with this build you really want to start trying to peel for your carries in the later game. Also with this build I'd advise you going for a red trinket, so you sweep the wards and you don't really need the blue trinket since you're not trying to dive into the backline. There's one final thing you can potentially do in this build, is sell your boots for a Titanic Hydra. If you get Titanic Hydra, you will pretty much get the maximum value out of your Devourer, and it will also give you a good amount of extra damage from all the health you bought in this build. The jungle routes. As the jungle routes play in the background right now, I want to talk to you guys about spell rotation when clearing, how to team fight, and how to gank with Nocturne. So let's start with the spell rotations when clearing your camps. On every camp you want to start with a Q and always position it so it hits all of the monsters in the camp. Then you want to use your E on the big monster for the extra damage and the fear so you won't take damage from it for a short amount of time. Also remember to stay on your Q path so you get the extra increased AD when you're clearing your camps. Now, for how to gank with Nocturne, pre-level 4 you don't want to gank at all because you will not have either your Stalker Smite or your Fear yet. And without this, it's really hard for you to do anything to a laner unless they are really low. Then after level 4 and your Stalker's upgrade, you can simply gank any lane you like as long as you make sure that you come from behind. So if you fear the target, it will run away from you in the direction of your turret. Then, after you get your ultimate, you want to make sure to use this on a lane that will have a guaranteed kill in it. Also try to save it when you're ganking someone, so you can use it to either finish someone off, or to catch someone that's really low health after he flashes away from the initial gank attempt. And for team fighting, as Nocturne, you want to dive onto the enemy backline and one-shot either the AD carry or the AP carry. This changes if you're going for a more tanky variation of build, because at that stage you kinda want to try to peel more for your AD carry or your AP mage. With the amount of damage you do with my first build, diving the enemy backline is really easy and it shouldn't be a problem at all. Just remember not to ult into 5 people randomly because you are very squishy and you will die pretty quickly if you don't have your team to back you up. Thank you guys so much for watching this guide. If you've enjoyed it, please hit that like button right below this video. If you want to see more content from me, then click that subscribe button. Also leave suggestions in the comments below on what champion you would like to see a guide on next. Again, thanks for watching and I'll see you guys next time. Bye!